the confidentiality, the integrity, and availability, right? So the moment we talked about confidentiality, we have seen so many things, so many algorithms through which we can provide the confidentiality. And those things were like we have seen the concept of your symmetric cryptography, the concept of asymmetric cryptography, means we have seen the concept of encryptions, right? And basically we have seen two types of encryption techniques in that part. First one was your symmetric one, and the second one was asymmetric one. And both the things were able to provide us the secrecy, the confidentiality. That means the first pillar of that CIA triangle, right? Where we have dealt a lot about confidentiality. Now, this time we are going to talk about message integrity and message authentication. So, what do we mean by message integrity? Okay, since I cannot hear you all, so I'll proceed with my talk. So message integrity means whenever we have got a message, we want that that particular message should not get changed in any case. However, it is not compulsory or necessary that somebody else should not be able to see that message, right? So the only thing we want in message integrity is that only the message should not be changed, must not be changed in any case, right? So with that assumptions, we proceed towards message integrity, or the only criteria in message integrity is that the message must not change in any case, even though or even if somebody is able to see that message, right? So that is the basic concept. Yeah. Uh, okay. I'm getting some messages that some of you are waiting. Let me, yeah. Okay. Now I have, yes, I have admitted all. Okay. Okay. So I guess now there is no one else in the waiting lobby. Okay. So I guess now you have got the idea regarding message integrity, right? So the moment we started cryptography, again I explained you that we have started by studying the concept of secrecy, or in other words, the concept of confidentiality, but not the integrity, right? And there are many occasions where we may not need to have the secrecy, but instead we are very much interested to have integrity. For example, uh, it may possible that somebody is writing a will for him or her, and after writing of that will, that person wants that this particular will should not get changed in any case. However, the other persons can see it, but those persons should not be able to change it, right? So here what we can see, that we are allowing all the other persons to see it, but we are not allowing anybody to modify it or change it, right? So this is what we mean by message integrity, and this is how it differs from confidentiality as well. And a classical example of this one is the fingerprint on your document, and this is the one of the way through which we preserve the integrity in a document. Okay, please let me know with the help of WhatsApp chat message if something wrong happens. Okay, because I'm following this WhatsApp chat continuously. Is it clear up to now? Any one of you
Yes,
can
sir.
reply me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
I got a reply from Saurabh. Okay. Okay, fine. So now let us consider that Alice needs to be sure that the contents of her document will not be changed. She can put her fingerprints at the bottom of the document. So this is the case which we have just discussed before few seconds, right? Now let us talk about the electronic equivalent of the scenario which we have just discussed. The scenario of document and the fingerprint, which we generally use in our day-to-day life to apply the process of integrity, right? So in case of electronic equivalent, we use the message and the digest pair. So whatever is the original content or the data which you want to where we want to provide the integrity is called the message in electronic form, and the fingerprint is going to be the digest pair in its electronic equivalent. Okay, so in short, if we have a document and a fingerprint, then its electronic equivalent is going to be your message and the digest pair. So uh, uh, yeah, so you can see this is a message, right? Now we have applied some hash functions to this particular message in order to create a message digest. Okay, and in our day-to-day life, this message will be analogous to your document, and this particular message digest is going to be analogous to your fingerprint. Okay, now what is the difference between these two things? The difference between the practical document fingerprint mechanism and the electronic message and message digest mechanism, right? There are two pairs. In the practical scenario, the pair is document fingerprint, and in electronic scenario or in a computer-based scenario, we have got message and its message digest. However, both of them look similar, but they do possess some differences. Okay. Yeah. So the message and the message digest can be unlinked separately, and the most important, the message digest needs to be safe from the change. So in case of the document and the fingerprint, we have to make sure that the document and the fingerprints are placed together in a single entity. Okay, however, the same case is not true in the electronic form. That means the message and its message digest can be kept separately. So this is one of the uh, major difference between these two. I hope all of you are getting this. Okay, now how to check integrity. So in this slide, you can see a diagram where we have got a message, then we are applying some sort of algorithm, some sort of hashing algorithm, and in this slide we are calling it as a hash function. Okay, so on a message we are applying a hash function, and with the help of that hash functions we are able to generate a digest, a message digest. Okay, oh, so in this diagram we are calling it as a current digest. Okay, so we have got a message here, and then we have applied a hash function or hashing algorithm onto this message, then it will generate a message digest. Okay, so if this message digest is same as the previous digest, then you can say that the message has not been changed. If they are same, that means the message is not changed. If they are not same, then it can be treated that the message has been altered or the message has been modified. Okay, so this is how we check the integrity. Okay, we have a message, we generate a hash function, and then we compare the current hash function, the current message digest with the previous message digest. If they match, then we can uh, we can conclude that the message has not been changed. If they are not same, then we can say that the message has been changed. Okay, and then we can discard the message. Okay, now in the previous slide we have seen that we do use some hash function, right, in order to create some hashes and all. Now a cryptographic hash function must satisfy three criteria, and those three criteria are pre-image resistance, second pre-image resistance, and collision resistance. Okay, let me see if somebody else is marketing. Yeah, some more are coming in the lobby. Okay. One more person is waiting. Okay. So now, as of now, we are 80 in number. Okay. So we were talking about the hash functions criteria. Okay. I hope the students who have just joined us recently are able to hear me. And let me just repeat the last slide. Okay. Over here, we are talking about the message integrity. And in order to check the message integrity, what we can do, we can have a message. Then on that message, we can apply a hash function. Okay. So after applying hash function, a message digest will be generated, and this message digest will be compared with the previous message digest. If the both the message digest are same, then we can infer that the message has not been changed. Otherwise, we can conclude that the message has been changed. Okay, so in today's class, we are talking about the message integrity, where we want to make sure that the messages are not being changed. Earlier, we have talked about the confidentiality. Okay, I hope the new students who have just joined me are able to listen me and are able to follow me. Okay. Guys, just hello. 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 मैं इसको कैसे करूँ? Yeah, sorry guys. Okay. So we were talking about the cryptography hash function criteria. So there are three criteria. The first one is pre-image resistance. The second one is second pre-image resistance, and the last one is collision resistance. Okay. So basically, these are the criteria which have been used in order to find out or in order to evaluate whether the hash functions which we are using to generate the message digest is good or not. How we can decide that a hash function is giving or is producing the right hash values, okay, where we do not see any problem. So let us see all of them one by one. Okay, so this is the first one called as pre-image resistance. I need to keep check again and again because uh, many persons are still in the waiting lobby. Okay, so in this one, in this diagram, again you can see that we have got a message. Okay, this is our message, and now we are applying a hash onto this message, and this is generating as a message digest. This is our message digest. This is our original message. Okay, so this is the notation which we generally use for the message digest, which is h of m, where m is your message and y is your hash value, actual hash value. Okay, so basically in this first criteria, we have to make sure that whenever you are generating any hash value from a message, this is a message and this is a hash value. Okay, and in this first criteria, you have to make sure that from the hash value, somebody should not be or must not be able to deduce the message. Means the reverse should not be true. We should be able to find out the hash value from the original message, but from hash value, nobody should be able to find out the message. Okay, this is what it means. And in this particular condition, the m dash can be equal to m. M means your original message, and m dash means it may be any other message. But in this first criteria, in this first condition, m can be equal to m dash. Okay, this is what it means. So basically, in general, in this first criteria, what we have to make sure, that the generation of hash values from messages is fine. Okay, but the reverse should not be true. That means from the hash values, the message should not be generated. Okay, this is what we mean by the first condition. Okay, please reply me on the WhatsApp group if you got the first condition, because this is very, very important. Okay, so I have got the message of Prabal, Aditi, Pratik, Cheta, that all of you are getting it. Okay, fine. So this was all about your first condition of first criteria, and now this is your second criteria or the second condition, second pre-image resistance. So in this particular condition, again in this diagram you can see we have got a message, and again we are applying some hash values to generate some hash functions to generate some hash values, right? And then the messages and the hash values are being communicated to the other party, right? Now in this particular condition, we have to check that two different messages should not be able to produce the same hash values. Get your point? We have got a one message, then we can generate one message digest from it. Okay, then we can have another message, and we can have another associated message digest to the second message, right? So we have to make sure that from two different messages, the same digest value should not be generated. Okay, got the point? And this is why we have written over here that m is not equal to m dash, means from two different messages the same message digest or the same hash value should not be generated. This is your second pre-image resistance criteria. Okay, got the point? So if you got the first one, then you would have got the second one easily. In the third one, collision. Again, in this one, you have to make sure that there should not be any two messages through which we are getting the same hash values. Generally, this one is being generated from the second pre-image from this particular condition. Means collision resistance is the result of second pre-image resistance. The moment we have this one, then this will be fulfilled automatically. Okay, so we have to make sure that we have to find m and m dash such that where these two are not equal, but if these two are being equal, that means we can say that there is a collision, and we have to make sure that such collision should be avoided. Okay, whenever we are designing the hash values. So these three are the basic criteria which we have to make sure before designing any hash values. Okay. Now let us move towards the random oracle model. So the random oracle model, which was introduced in 1993 by Bella and Raghav in an ideal mathematical model for hash functions. So this was a model which was proposed in 1990s. Okay, and this is considered as a best mathematical model for the design of hash function. So it says the first thing, no matter how long is your message, okay, the size of the message could be anything, okay, but the message digest or the hash value of all the messages should be of fixed length. What the point? For example, let's say we have got a message. The first message has got the length 31 bit. Okay. The second message has got the length of 16 bits. The third message has got the length of 129 bits. Okay. So the condition says that no matter whatever is the size of your message, the message digest or the hash value should be of fixed length. So let's say for all the messages, the message digest length is 14 bits. Okay, so all the messages which I have just told you, the length of all the messages which I have just indicated are going to have the fixed length message digest. Okay, this is the first criteria of the random oracle model. Now, the second criteria is, let's say we have got n number of messages and we have got n number of associated message digest or the hash values. Okay, and the moment we try to generate a new hash value for any new upcoming message, means we have got a new message and we just try to generate a hash value for that message. Okay, so if that message is already there, then the associated hash value will be assigned to that message once again. Fine, means we are just trying to send one more new message and then suddenly we have found, okay, this message has already been sent earlier. So in that case, the message digest which has been used earlier for that message will be used once again. That means no new message digest will be generated for the old messages for which the earlier message digest has been generated. Okay, so this is the second criteria. Fine. Now the third criteria of the random oracle model says that in case if we are getting a message for which a message digest has not been generated till now. So in that case, the message digest of that message will be generated independently. Okay, independently means whatever the messages and the message digest have been generated earlier, they will not uh, affect the generation of the new message digest for the new message. Okay, this is what we mean by the independent hash generation. So these are the three basic criteria of random oracle model. Okay, I hope all of you are getting me. Okay, so let me move further. Hmm. This is one of the example which I have just discussed. Over here, we can see that we have got some messages of variable lengths. However, the length of message digest are same for all the type of messages. Okay, so I guess we have discussed this particular criteria of random oracle model, right? Okay, now there are two things in random oracle model which are pigeonhole principle and birthday problem. In pigeonhole principle, let's say we have got n number of pigeons and n number of holes. So in that case, all the pigeons will occupy all the pigeonholes, right? And the moment we have got n plus 1 pigeons, in that case, we can say at least there will be one pigeonhole where more than one pigeons are staying, right? Or one pigeonhole is being occupied by two pigeons. Okay, when we have n pigeonholes and n plus 1 pigeons. So this is what the pigeonhole principle says. Okay, and the birthday problems. So we have got four types of birthday problem. Again, this is associated with your hash value generation, the first one as well, and this one as well. So let's say we have got some predefined values, okay, and we have got some set of values, okay. And the moment we talk about the probability, which is more than 0.5, that means we are talking about the likely, that they are most likely. Okay, so the moment we have got predefined values, if in case we can find this predefined value from this set of values, then we can say that this is the first problem where we have just coined some values, and with this probability we are finding this particular value in this set of values. Okay, so this is your first type of problem. And in second type of problem, uh, the values is not predefined values, rather the values has been picked from the set of values only. So if this is the probability of finding this value again from this set, then this is a second type of problem. Okay, and this time the predefined value is not there, rather we are choosing some random values. Okay, and if that random values is from within the set only, then you can say this is a birthday paradox or the famous birthday problem. Okay, and in this case we are trying to match two different set of values. If one value can be mapped to the another value from a different set, then you can say this is a fourth type of birthday problem. So this is just the use cases, uh, and generally these use cases are very much related to your hash value generation, because we are very well aware that we can have the n number of messages, and it may possible that for those n number of messages we can generate the duplicate hash values. Okay, so these are the some analogies to understand that what is the meaning of generating two hash values, or for one message. The moment we have got multiple hash values for a single message, then how we are going to deal with it. So these are some of the classical examples which indicate that it may possible that for one message, uh, we can say the same hash values can be generated for more than one message. Okay. Now, there is one more thing called as message authentication. However, we are going to see the concept of message authentication uh, in the later part of our presentation. So first, let us discuss what is modification detection code. This one. So modification detection code is a message digest that can prove the integrity of the message, that the message has not been changed. Okay. For example, if Alice needs to send a message to Bob and be sure that the message will not change during transmission, Alice can create a message digest MDC and send both the message and the MDC to Bob. Now Bob can create a new MDC from the message and can compare the received MDC and the new MDC. If they are the same, if both the MDCs are same, then the message has not been changed. This is what we are discussing from the beginning in this particular class, right? So this is how it looks. Now we have just being more specific about the integrity. So let's say we have got a message again, and we have applied some hash values, some hash functions to this message, and we are getting a message digest. So this message digest is nothing but your modification detection code. Okay. And now, as you can see, we have got two types of channel over here. The first one is insecure channel, and the second one is secure channel. Means the channel which is immune to change. Okay. So over here, the message is being sent over an insecure channel, whereas the MDC has to be sent over a secure channel. Okay, this should not be changed, otherwise the whole concept will get failed. Okay, so with the assumptions that this MDC is being sent through a secure channel to the other party, which is Bob in this case. Okay, so the Bob has received the message from Alice. Bob has also received MDC from Alice. Now Bob will again apply the hash value, sorry, the hash function or the hash algorithm to the message, and it will again generate, the Bob will again generate the MDC. Now what Bob will do, Bob will compare the received MDC and the generated MDC. If both are same, in that case, we will be able to conclude that the received message has not been changed. That means the received message can be accepted. If both the MDCs are not same, then we can say that this is a changed message or the message will change, and hence it can be rejected. Okay, so this is what we mean by modification detection code, which can be used to ensure the integrity of any message. So I hope you have got this concept. You can reply me on WhatsApp in the group. Okay. So I'm getting plenty of yes messages. Okay, fine. So uh, what I'll do, I'll just stop over here. In the next class, I'll discuss about message authentication codes and all. Okay. Since we have got a timetable and the next class is scheduled, so I'll not take much of the time. So in the next class, I'll cover the rest of the things. Okay, is it okay? Okay, so I'm getting the messages that I should share the PPTs and the recorded video. Okay, I have already shared the PPTs with all of you, and you can also find the PPTs on the web page, and I'll try to share the videos as well. Okay. So with this, I'll end the class. If you have any doubt, then you can ask me, you can mail me. I can just see that Yashasvi Shah and Mandi Sairam has just joined me now. So Yashasvi and Sairam, I have just finished the class. Anyway, I'll pass the videos of this class to all of you. And I also pass the PPTs, and I have already passed the PPTs to all of you. So you can refer to those PPTs. And anyway, we are going to meet in the next class tomorrow. Now the Priyanka has just joined. Okay, so let's meet in the next class. Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you once again. And in case if you have got any questions, you can put up all your questions in the chat window, or you can mail me where I can resolve all of your doubts and the questions. So thank you.
सर छोड़ दिए क्या?